pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's pray. Almighty God, as we gather, we thank you for the opportunity to be here, and we thank you for school being back in session, and we ask that you would bless all those that are involved. Any person, staff member, student, guardian, we ask that you would bless all those that are involved with a successful year. We ask that you would bless them with safety and also accomplishment. Amen.
Amen.
And under public comment, we have no public, so I'm assuming there's no comment. Student and staff recognition.
I have none.
None at this time. Minutes of the August the 6th board meeting, we've all received those. Are there any corrections or objections to the minutes you received, or do we have a motion to accept them?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to accept the minutes. Any discussion? Then all in favor of accepting the minutes, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed, no. Motion passes. The minutes are accepted, and we move down to personnel.
And under resignations and retirement, we have two resignations, Lydia Rittenauer and Leanne Shreve, and I would recommend that you accept the resignations.
Okay, so we have two resignations, Lydia and Leanne. Do we have our superintendent? We have our superintendent's recommendation to accept them. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
I have Brooke on there, on my list.
We removed that because she, and as it shows up there, she did a recension, so I just pulled her off.
Okay.
Any additional discussion? There is none, and all in favor of accepting the resignations of Lydia and Leanne, please signify by saying aye.
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 And opposed, no. Motion passes.
And under recensions, we have Nancy Barkley, as far as her retirement, which she had put out, which would have been this October. She is requesting to rescind that to a later date, which she hasn't established this year yet.
Okay.
And you have my recommendation to approve her rescission of her retirement.
Our superintendent's recommending that we approve the rescission of, for Nancy Barkley of her retirement. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion or any questions? If there is none, then all in favor of approving Nancy Barkley's rescission of retirement, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed, no. Motion passes.
Also requesting permission to close our nurse LPN position, aide, it was an LPN aide position, and a half-time itinerant special education teaching position at FES. And you have my recommendation to close both of those positions.
Our superintendent's recommending that we approve or grant permission to close the LPN and the half-time itinerant special ed at FES position. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion or any questions? If there are none, then all in favor of closing those two positions, LPM and one half-time itinerant special ed at FES, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes.
And now I would request permission to post for an RN and for an extracurricular contract for a media specialist at FES and a half-time itinerant aide with autism mentor and CPI certification at FES. And you have my recommendation.
Our superintendent's recommending that we grant permission to post for an RN, an extracurricular contract for media specialist, and a half-time itinerant aide with autism mentor and CPI certification at FES. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion or are there any questions? Then all in favor of granting this permission to post, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes.
And under employment of personnel, I did forget to tell you that Mrs. Stingo's at mandatory community and schools training in Charleston as a new coordinator. She wasn't able to get out of that, or she would have been here tonight. We have Hillary Fox as Secretary 2, Accountant 2 at Pelton County Middle High School. Lynn Warner, bus driver at 7723, that is Deer Run, replacing Polly. Javen Kirkendall, extracurricular assistant football coach at Pelton County Middle High School. And Paula Kaufman, substitute teacher, and April Depew, substitute nurse, and I would recommend employment of personnel as presented.
Our superintendent's recommended employing these personnel. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion or any questions?
Didn't Hillary just hire her last time out of Brandywine? She's moving from Brandywine to...
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought.
She is.
Anything additional? Then all in favor of hiring Hillary, Lynn, Javen, Paula, and April, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes.
In approval of these contracts, these are the duty-free agreements that we have with our pre-K. That's Kimberly Davis, Marlena Simmons, Kenna Hedrick Champ, Amy Gardner, Sherry Howard, Corey Wagner, Jennifer Willis, and Sheila Evick. And I recommend approval of the duty-free agreements with the personnel as presented.
Superintendent's recommending approval of the duty-free agreements. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Any questions? Then all in favor of approving the duty-free contract agreements, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed, no. Motion passes.
Okay, the next item on there is extracurricular job sharing agreement on the vocational run to Petersburg, and that is between Wes Flesher and David Simon. We did hire Wes Flesher into that. He's employed as the regular, but he would like to go into an agreement. We have a contract. I don't know if we have it up there presented, but it is between him and David to share those duties. If something would happen, it would go back to Wes, but they're going to work out the days and stuff between them. I just need your all's approval of that agreement.
On the screen is the job sharing agreement between Wes and David, and everything's legally as it should be, signed by both of them. And so that's what we're talking about, the extracurricular.
And if you read on at number 8, it is that Flesher, of course, he was the person we hired, can void disagreement at any time as to full assignment's his. It would go back to his, and the superintendent can void disagreement at any time also. They have signed it, and I just need your all's approval, and I would recommend approval of the extracurricular job sharing agreement for the vocational bus run.
Our superintendent's recommending that we approve the extracurricular job sharing agreement for the VOTEC run. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion or any questions? Then all in favor of approving the extracurricular job sharing agreement for the VOTEC run between Wes Flesher and David Simon, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes.
And the next thing we have is approval of volunteers and chaperones. And unless you want me to read all those names, I'll just make a recommendation that we approve the list of volunteer and chaperones as listed on the personnel agenda.
So our superintendent has recommended that we approve the volunteers and chaperones as listed. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion or any questions? If there is none, then all in favor of approving the volunteers and chaperones, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed, no. That motion passes, and we move to finance because there's no leaves of absence.
Correct. I will pull up the treasurer's report here in just 1 minute. I'll refresh my screen. So treasurer's report for the month ended June 30th, 2024, going through all the reconciling items. So this ties back to the bills that were approved for the month ended June 30th, 2024. So our prior month ending fund balance on May 31st, this is cash position again, 2,257,907.63. Receipts for the month, 1.619,874.10. Year to date, cash receipts just over 16 million. Disbursements for the month, 2,771,114.02. That's in large part due to the summertime payroll. So we're making 2 payrolls for June, 2 for July, and 2 for August for the 208 persons. That's why payroll was over $2 million for the month of June. But we hold those checks and send them out on the 4 payrolls for 5th and 20th for July and August. So looking at the straight expenditures takes us down to 1.1 million for the month on current month ending fund balance. We have to add back in for proper accounting the over 904,188.02 between payroll and accounts payable that has been written and not sent out, some of those withholdings to those payrolls. That ties back on the right-hand side to 2,069,484.19 subtotal of cash, adding back in the summer deferred payroll and summer deferred accounts payable, and then get a net total at the bottom. I'm going to the 2,010,855.73, 2,010,855.73, adding back to just over $900,000 of summer deferred. So it's a very good cash position, given the fact that we do have that large amount to be sent out end of June and July and August. So those things do tie back. That means if we had to send everything out by the end of June, we would still have over $1 million left in the bank. And the fact that we don't, the cash fund balance is just over $2 million based on that. That's what that really means. Interest checking in the bottom middle, 5.54%, still very solid. We did cross the $100,000 threshold for interest earned for the year by $300, so $100,395.73 for interest earned, just over $9,590.14 for June. So we did again cross the $100,000 threshold for interest earned. The second page just ties back in to the bills that were paid. One aspect of the second page is all the payroll that totals to $2,099,000, the regular payroll for June 3rd, June 20th, the summer deferred payrolls that we have to go through. And they're not as large because we don't have all of the year-round employees, nor substitutes, nor extracurricular being paid. So they're not as large. 291 pretty much for July, then to 264 and 265 for August. We had an extra payroll for summer school of $114,000 at the very end of June and a couple other year-end payments. So $2,099,398.01, which really encompasses June, July, and August for our 200-day employees. So again, the current month ending fund balance, $1,106,667.71. But then if you add back in the summer deferred payrolls, we're just over $2,010,855.73. So when we do financial statements in this September, we will show those totals there on financial statements.
Give my recommendation to approve the June 2024 Treasurer's Report.
Our superintendent's recommending that we approve the June 30, 2024 Treasurer's Report. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion or any questions? Then all in favor of approving the June Treasurer's Report, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed, no. Motion passes.
Okay, so that is the treasurer's report for the month of June. Still working on reconciliation for the month of July. So we don't have that for right now. We do have item 6C, budget revisions. Budget revisions, item 6C. I'm going to pull up here on the screen. So there are 4. One is fairly large for FY25 communities and schools. First 3 are fairly small. So number 101, the first supplement for FY25, special education grant for speech supplies, $8,000, some speech supplies and software. I know Carrie was looking forward to receiving that in consultation with our speech staff. They will be spending that. So it's $8,000 for speech, special education grant. Grant number 2, number 102, is a $2,100 grant
secondary transition conference that some folks went to. I don't know that we'll utilize all that or need it all, but it was for stipends and travel expenditures for that secondary transition conference, which again was special ed related. So that's $2,100. The third grant, number 103, another small grant, 832, was for another special education conference, Learning Canvas, like a learning management system, classes online. So a Canvas conference expenses for stipends and perhaps travel, $832. Number 104 is the largest one by far. It's $300,000. It is the FY25 Communities and Schools grant that has been received all up front. Federal grants are drawn down in arrears. State grants sometimes come up front. This one does, so it does help our cash flow. $300,000 that goes towards salaries, benefits, and supplies. We do have some carryover from 24 over 60,000. That gives us 360,000 to work with. Total salaries and benefits for the whole year total just around 320,000. Total salaries and benefits for our 5 CIS total about 320. So between this grant and the carryover, we do have enough, obviously, to continue for FY25. We'll keep an eye on the legislature in the winter and spring to see exactly what happens going forward there. So with this grant and carryover, there is enough to maintain fully, as we knew was coming, the CIS for FY25. So supplements number 301 to 304, $310,932.
Yeah, my recommendation to approve supplements 301 to 304.
Our superintendent's recommended that we approve the supplements 301 to 304, 310,000, 101 to 104, isn't it?
Yes.
I'm sorry, yes, 101 to 104, sorry, yes.
Yep.
Yeah, typo.
101
101 to 104.
for $310,932. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved. I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve budget supplements 101 to 104 for $310,932. Is there any discussion, any discussion?
JP, in the next year, if there's any carryover, I mean, we have to get that used up by the end.
It's a 2-year window, 24 months. So we will have expenditures. We will use up the old grant first, get that spent out, and then if we have the 360 total, 318 or 320 for salary and expenses, and let's say we use 20,000 for supplies, we may have 20,000 or so left over, just approximately at the end of this year. So we have 2 years to spend. So this FY25 grant can go another year beyond this, but it wouldn't be much, but it could be maybe 20,000 or so something left over for that.
So the 25, 26 school year, you'd have to.
Right, we have to pay attention to what the state's, if they cut this about 10%. Last year received 330, this year upcoming 300. Okay. So probably good news would be only a 10% cut. Who knows? 'Cause it is a program with the governor and first lady very much behind. With them not being in office, will it change it drastically? Will it go away? We don't know. Obviously, we hope that it's maintained. I think they're making a lot of good publicity, and I think that gains some support. We just have to monitor that and pay attention to it. So we have enough now to maintain it for this current year, but we'll have just a little bit left over at the end of the year to look into next year for that. So we'll need a similar sized grant or pretty close to it to continue with that.
Thank you.
Any additional questions? Then all in favor of approving budget supplements 101 to 104 for the 310,932, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes.
All right, so the next item that we have is financial update. So financial update 6D, just some basic information. So in the summertime, this is just a month and a half in the new fiscal year. I will just show you that we have, so obviously utilities have been fairly light. Other expenses, no diesel fuel to speak of, maybe a little bit of buses getting ready. So the budget still looks very good. It looks, very much where we think it's going to be, with over $1 million surplus by the end of FY25. We're going to carry over, more than our estimate of 1.2. We'll know those numbers finalized in the next few months. So in personnel, with some of our personnel vacancies, so the first 5 lines, or first 6 lines here on this chart, the encumbrance column, third column over, shows what we project to expense what we project to spend over the course of the year. 5.3 million in professional regular salary, 1.8 million in service regular salary. That doesn't include grants and those. This is just regular Fund 11 expenditures there. So obviously we have some unfilled positions. We have substitutes we haven't spent yet. So we show $1 million to the good there. Now, as that will decrease as we hire some substitutes to fill positions, as we have some other vacancies, but at the same time, we want to get all the people that we can to fill our positions, to fill our classrooms, to have certified teachers there. On the financial side, not having the full obligations there does show a little bit more room in the budget that can change over time. So at least that's a solid number for the budget. Again, that's just right now very preliminarily. So the benefit side is a little bit extra money right now as well. That could change depending on persons being hired and their need for health insurance and dental and vision. So the construction service will transfer that. That was paving. That was not particularly in that particular line item that we had for the bus garage. We will do a budget transfer for that. So that's the construction service of just over 90,000. So yes, it shows the 4.2 million. That will obviously go down with energy costs. It will go down with substitute costs. The projected budget for 25, again, shows us with a surplus of 1.2 million. And this is very early in the year. So as we go through, we will monitor and maintain and see where we are. So a very early look at that. So it's not to overstate our position, but it does show how the filling of positions, the vacancies that are out there, if we don't have somebody hired and on staff and ready to go, then they're not showing up in encumbrances and doesn't show as being used up against the budget yet. So I know some of those numbers will go down, but that's just basic information right now. So that's really all I have under financial update.
Okay, well, before we move on, the retirement contributions are mostly expensed and there's not much under encumbrances.
Well, so one of the big thing under retirement is we have unfunded retirement that comes in and goes out of just over 1.3 million.
Gotcha.
So we have to record our Pendleton County share of unfunded retirement that goes to the state. So on our books is an expense of 1.3 million, it's a good question, and a revenue of 1.3 million. We've only really used about 45,000. So that remaining amount is pretty much in line with our remaining retirement contribution, which will be between 550 and 560,000 for retirement. That makeup. That's why it's so large of 1.3 million. Our Pendleton County Board of Ed share of the state's unfunded retirement goes in and gets washed back out.
Gotcha. That makes perfect sense.
But that's a good question.
I knew there was a good answer. I just couldn't figure it out.
That's a good question.
Thank
Yes.
you. Are there any other questions for JP? Okay, so then I think that finishes us up with the finances and we move to facilities.
I really don't have a whole lot to update you on as far as facilities goes, and we're just trying to tidy up anything that's coming to us as far as we come back and occupy our buildings and things that need to be taken care of. We've been working on a few of those things, but no major updates on the All-Ed building as far as that goes. Anything else?
Glad there's not a lot going on.
Well, there's a lot going on, but
Okay, with facilities, there's not a lot,
yeah, I mean,
except the unusual things with
Yeah.
facilities.
yes,
I'm sure there's a lot going on with facilities too, but
yeah.
any questions?
Oh, I do have something. I've been looking at all the landscaping around the schools, like in Brandywine especially. Like most of them bushes are just dead.
Yeah, they are, and
So-
I don't know what's caused a lot of that.
I mean, I rode through the other night.
There's a section, I think, right underneath the principal's office.
There's no leaves
There's-
on them or anything.
They're done. And I don't know, we trimmed on them, I think. Previous custodians trimmed on them. I don't know if they cut them back so far that they're just nothing
I
new
don't know.
coming in, but there's a lot of them, I think, that just needs to be pulled out.
Is that something they should bring up at LSIC, or is it something
Could be, I mean, we need to pull them out for sure and get rid of them.
I mean, I was just thinking like, maybe just, we don't have the time really to take care of landscaping, so I'm thinking just mulch and a few big rocks or something like.
You are 100% correct.
We don't have the time.
It's having a very small
Yeah.
staff. It's hard to go out and get a lot of that extra stuff done.
It is, I know, like a lot of volunteers have went over and weeded it out and cleaned it up, but to me, you'd be better off just with some mulch and,
And it's gonna kinda look odd because, you know, they
Yeah.
put so much around the front of
I
that
know,
building to
they
start
did.
with, but some of it's past its prime.
yeah, it's just done.
And so,
I don't
yeah,
know.
Ryan and I have had that conversation a couple different times, and I told him, I said, we need to either pull them out now while we can see what's really alive,
Mhm.
or mark them and pull them out this fall
Yeah,
and just be done with them. And but
okay.
there's quite a few that's,
Oh, yeah, I
that's
looked
done for them.
the other evening, it's,
And I'm like you, I'm at the point, I think, that I'm gonna just
I mean,
walk back over it and be done with
I
it.
just feel like our custodians have enough, and
It's hard for them to get outside.
it
and do
is.
It
It's
is.
hard to get out there and take care of, you know how landscaping is, you gotta take care of
You
it.
do. No, I
I
agree
don't
with you,
know.
but there's definitely some there that needs to be pulled out.
I think I've just improved the looks of
Disposed
the
of.
school building myself, so, anyway, okay,
Anything else?
that's all.
Nothing under advanced construction paying,
No.
and there's nothing under old business, so under new business, we have policies on comment.
Okay, I did give you, as board members, handouts. I'll go over them on the screen as well. So the new policy manual, coincidentally, Mr. Hedrick received an email. It is live on our website. The new policy manual is out there. But that being said, it was a very comprehensive project to bring everything over to the new format. And at times, we still find things that need to be updated, or maybe we find something new to be added. So what's in front of you and on the screen are two policies to be added, if approved with appropriate review, to add it to the policy manual. So the first one is employment of substitutes, 3120.04. We've thought about this for a while. Some other counties have done this. And so what this one change is designed to do is if we have long-term substitutes, wherever that, so in the red print on the second page is the proposed new language. The black print is the existing language that's in our policy manual for substitutes. So it defines in the policy manual long-term substitute and what it means and how it goes. In state code, the minimum that you pay is you pay a basic rate, 80% without equity, gets into some details. You pay not a whole lot for a day-to-day sub in the first 10 days. You may pay based upon their degree level, but not necessarily experience. After 10 days, you go up a tier, and there's a second tier of payment, which is still not 100% payment. Then 30 days worked in any one position is when you would start getting your regular pay. So particularly for a retired substitute, they're taking far less than what they would have made as an employee. So this goal here is to get more persons interested, to compensate them adequately, and for a long-term sub. So the key is it's a long-term sub fills a vacant position the substitute expects to extend for at least 30 days, listed in a job posting as a long-term sub, listed that it was for a regular position. And then in the red language is to add in that we want to allow them. In the past, substitutes have not been allowed for all things such as sick leave. But if somebody's going to work a full year, it kind of makes sense you would have some leave for them to be able to take. It does allow insurance benefits. Now, for a retired employee, it would not allow for insurance benefits because they have it as a retiree. But for someone who's not a retired employee, it allows for the insurance benefits. It allows for sick leave. And then the third paragraph of the red, where I have a little bit of underline, professional subs hired as a long-term substitute defined above, meaning that it's posted, it's a vacant position. A long-term sub, upon reaching 10 days worked, shall then on the 11th day be paid their regular rate of pay. Any long-term sub that doesn't meet this criteria, just flinging for sick leave, for example, they have to go the first 10 days at the low rate, the next 20 days at a medium rate, and then wait until 30 days, which is how we've handled this all through this time. This is elevating the subs that meet this criteria to get more quickly to the higher rate of pay when reaching 10 days worked in the long-term sub position. So it gets a person 20 days more quickly to the regular rate of pay as opposed to waiting for the full 30. Even if a long-term sub does not meet or works more than 30 days, they'll still get their rate of pay if they don't meet this criteria. But this is for those, it's posted, it's a vacant position, and it meets this criteria that's out there.
And will that be retroactive so that those who meet it this year
Yes,
still apply?
yes, correct. And the pay of a substitute teacher then not hired, so the next page, just to clarify, the pay of a substitute teacher not hired to fill a long-term position as above goes to 10 consecutive days. Then they have to get the next 20 days at that 80% ratio. Then they have to get 30 days total to get it. So anybody that doesn't meet their, again, some teacher may be filling in for an illness, ends up working longer, but it wasn't posted. It's not a vacant position, they're a sub for some other reason. They maintain the existing policy on that. But for any long-term subs that handle that, then we can certainly have them achieve that rate of pay more quickly. So as we talk to persons, try to get positions filled, it will help, I think, to fill those positions more adequately and to reward our employees with adequate compensation for that. So that's the first one. That's the professional substitute pay. The second one is kind of taking care of some language that we had in our old policy manual. We didn't realize that Neola did not include this when we did the updates in our new policy manual. So it deals with holidays. And there's a section 3420 for professional staff. And we've added the highlighted section, which simply says they've listed the official holidays by the state, but it doesn't include things for year-round people like the 4th of July, like West Virginia Day, like Juneteenth, which all those are holidays, but it doesn't mention that. So this shall include any day appointed and set apart by the president or governor as a holiday of special observance. When such holiday falls in the employment term, it shall be considered a day of employment, and full-time school personnel shall receive pay for the day. So it puts in there and clarifies, obviously, for the year-round personnel, whether it be custodians, other personnel, administrators working, it just says these are allowed to be holidays for that. West Virginia Day is mentioned, but it doesn't mention the Juneteenth. It doesn't actually mention the 4th of July there, so that does add those in. Then the next section, 4420. So 3420 is for the professional staff. Service staff has similar language. It also adds them for the any other days like 4th of July, like Juneteenth, or anything else that the governor or president might declare as a day off.
And this is also out of West Virginia Code 18A-5-2, and that's where the language came from. We had it in our old policy, but, and one of the things that JP and I have noticed as we make the transition to Neola, to our new policy provider, there's going to be some tweaks throughout the year like this, I think, because we approved a multi-page document, and as we go through and as we see things that may need to be either realigned with Belton County former policies or realigned as we see things that need to be some fixes. I think we'll have a few of these throughout the year where we're going to have to do some small policy alignments. I know we usually try to do that just once a year, but I think we'll have some more of those. So you have my recommendation to approve the policies on their first reading, retroactive back to the start of school.
So this would be the superintendent's recommending that we approve these policy changes as a first reading, so it won't be the final approval, we'll be bringing it back another time, and that we would approve them to, on the first reading and the second reading later, to be retroactive to the start of school. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
And we'll have a motion and a second. Any discussion or any questions?
I have a question about the substitute. Okay, you post a job and it's not filled, but it's a necessary job. How does a critical need come in with that, if you do it as a critical need?
If we have the position as a critical need,
Yes.
We have
In
to-
other words, you've posted it, but nobody applied. You need to fill it, so you do a critical need. Does that,
We have to
Policy.
post it 3 times, I think, and nobody fills it, at least twice. And when nobody fills it, then if we do fill it with a long-term sub, and that's a former teacher, I mean, we can at that point say it becomes a critical need job. It remains posted, but it's a critical need, and the critical need piece, as you know, affects, it's for people who are who are retired can continue, they receive full pay and can work the whole 200 days.
So they would get just like a regular teacher or what? That's what I'm
Yes, they
saying.
would be just like a regular
Okay.
teacher at that point, unless someone who's fully certified applies. We have to repost a
Right.
job at least, I think, every 30 days.
Okay.
Those numbers may not be exact, but something along those
Right.
lines, yes.
Yes.
Any more questions? With no more questions, all in favor of approving the policy changes as a first reading, retroactive to the beginning of school, please signify by saying aye. And opposed, no. Motion passes. Student transfers.
Hi, I have 2 student transfers for your approval this evening. One is a student who's requesting a transfer from Franklin to Brandywine, and the second, number 14, is a student requesting a transfer from North Fork to Franklin.
And you have my recommendation to approve student transfers 24,
13
20,
and 14.
yeah, 24, 25, 13, and 14.
Superintendent is recommending that we approve student transfers 24, 25, number 14, and number 15.
13.
I'm sorry, number 13 and number 14. Thank you, sir. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I guess, once again, it doesn't affect the numbers in the classroom enough to make any changes.
No, just not.
Correct. We had double checked that the numbers would be okay. We were getting close on one, but we're still okay.
Thank you.
Any more questions? Then all in favor of approving student transfers number 13, or 2024, 2025, 13, and 14, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed, no. Motion passes. Attendance waivers.
Okay, I have 4 attendance waivers from the middle high school that I'm requesting for your approval. It's attendance waiver 24-25, number 1, 2, 3, and 4.
You have my recommendation to approve the attendance waivers for 24, 25, 1 through 4.
The superintendent's recommending that we approve attendance waivers, number 2024, 2025, 1 through 4. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion, any questions?
I think it's the first time I've ever seen them want to take the time off to pursue college-level courses virtually. It's always been to work or something, it's probably a good idea. They can work on their college, load.
Yeah, I think typically the ones that we get are most frequently, for employment, and these students are finishing up their high school credits, and now that virtual classes are more available, they're able to get a head start on their college courses before graduating.
Which does sound like a good thing. Any more questions?
That doesn't affect like sports or anything, does it? Like
No.
I noticed, that's still, they don't have to attend school in person, right?
Well,
participate
these are attending school part day and
So it's
not
still-
part of the
okay.
day. So they are there part of the day and then taking off part of the day to go home to work on their
Okay.
college courses or other classwork, yes. So no, it doesn't affect anything.
Okay, I just thought maybe they had to be in school the full day to do the sports thing, so. Okay.
Okay, any more questions? Okay, then, all those in favor of approving the attendance waivers, please signify by saying aye.
All right.
Aye.
And opposed, no. Motion passes. Education leave plans.
All right, I have 3 educational leave plans for your approval this evening. EL 24-25, number 1 through 3.
You have my recommendation to approve the educational leave plans for 24, 25, 1 through 3.
The superintendent's recommended that we approve these leave plans. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion or any questions? Then all in favor of approving education leave plans 2024-2025, 1 through 3, please signify by saying aye. And opposed, no. Motion passes. The leave plans are approved. And that finishes us up under new business, and we move down to other. And we have West Virginia School Improvement, School Improvement, and Student Achievement.
Mr. Edrick has some stuff, I think.
I thought maybe you had some things before that.
I'm glad you got there.
We did get our West Virginia General Summative Assessment test scores back. These are just rounded out. The ones they sent me were just rounded out to the tenths. I did provide you with a list of those. You can see as you look up there in math, Pendleton County finished 11th. In English Language Arts, we were at 6th. And at science, we were at 6th. And one of the things I always, because people look at that and they say, you know, those numbers are, they look at it as being proficient in a grade level. And really what West Virginia General Summative Assessment measures is college proficiency. So when you're looking at 40% or 45%, then you're looking at 45% of the students who could go on to college and not have to take remedial classes. So that's where our break is, and sometimes we look at that and we think, well, our students aren't doing so well, and again, there's room to improve, and we'll continue to improve. We're very pleased at the fact that we've moved the needle in the right direction, and again, I'd like to compliment our students for working hard, our parents being involved in keeping that, because that's not always the commitment in every county, but it has been in ours. And our staff really stepped up, and Travis is here, and Travis and Ms. Whitecotton's done a great deal of work. We had Ms. Whitecotton in presented. We talked about how those benchmarks look good. If those benchmarks continued out, then our general summative assessment scores would be good, and they did match up as she presented those back in late April, early May, and it matched up to the scores that we have. And appreciate your all support over time, because we added that school improvement coordinator at the county level, and it's made a huge difference for us because we have someone to focus on instruction and on these scores. And if JP, he put up the school digger stuff, and I did hand you out very quickly after the test scores came out. School Digger is one of those school achievement sites. They sent out their results, which ranked us number 7th, and you can look and see where we fell as far as other counties. And JP's pointed out, and of course you can see we're really the only really small rural county in that, and we are the only non-levied county, even though we do have the 1,400 floor, which helps us tremendously. We are at counties that are usually more urban and have more resources. So again, I'm very proud of our scores. We continue to move in the right direction, and we want to continue to make that movement even up higher. I think we've done a lot of work last year. We need to continue along that path.
That is absolutely amazing. We should share our congratulations to all the staff, students, and parents. That's truly extraordinary.
And School Digger data does show the elementary school breakdowns. I think there's about 350 some schools in the state elementary. So it shows where Pendleton County schools rank under elementary, the 3 elementary schools. It's just sorted by county there. It has a ranking for that. Then it has a ranking for high schools, where Pendleton Middle High School ranks, where they did rank the major improvement. And so yeah, that has our 4 schools individually, and then adding that up as a district to the 7th best.
Truly impressive.
Well, we're heading in the right direction, and again, a lot of people did a lot of work to get there, and especially our students and our staff did an outstanding job.
Would we be justified in doing a resolution that says thank you to all of the staff members and students and parents and guardians and all the work that went into it for the improvement that has taken place.
I think that would be fine. That's what you.
So would the board members want to make a motion to have a resolution to thank everybody for all their efforts for the improvement that we have?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Well, at least it helped word it better than I said
Yeah.
it, but
We'll bring it back for all of you to sign at the next board meeting.
all those in favor of having a resolution, just say thank you to all the folks. Please signify by saying aye. And opposed, no. Motion passes.
And I'm sure Stephen's gonna let the public know, correct, Stephen?
Oh, yes. I noticed on there that, of all this, that, Pendleton County Middle High School ranks second in the entire Potomac Highlands to Frankfurt. So that's also pretty telling too.
Yeah. Do you have anything else under school improvement, student achievement? This is significant enough we
I
can
was
stop
gonna say, that was
here.
enough there.
Yep. I
Don't want
agree
to top
with
that, Hunter. You don't want to have to
Exciting.
follow up
I don't think
that.
I got anything that can top that this time.
We're getting your foam fingers on order, Sonny.
So then we're finished under the school improvement, student achievement, and we have superintendent's update.
Just real quickly, we did get a thank you letter out to Huttonsville Correctional Center for the alt ed building and to the employees who helped do that. We're in day 3 of school. We're off to a fairly smooth start. Next meeting, just a reminder, we do go live stream, the first one in September and from then on out. Again, I would just like to thank the staff and here at the board office too, as well as all the staff. You know, we're the only business in the world, I think, that shuts down for 2 months and then has to reopen, and it always takes a lot of effort to get us back in the groove. And Travis particularly, Ms. Wycott's done a lot of work there with our professional development this year. And there's a lot of training that goes on from everybody in the central office, but also out in the schools with our principals and our staff, getting them back. And it's just, like I said, we're at day 3, and we've been out in the schools the last couple of days, and it looks like we've never left. And that's what you kind of want to see when you come back. It's been a pretty good transition. Lisa's done a lot of work. It's been a busy time for her too, and appreciate all that she does to keep all of us straight. And that's it.
Okay. Any questions for the superintendent? Then under conference and meeting update, what do we have?
Conference and meeting update, I think until the next board meeting. We had an epic meeting, but it got canceled. I don't think I have any conferences or meetings until the next board meeting.
Okay. And our next meeting will be Tuesday, September the 3rd, here at 5:30, and I will accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no.